Hey Steve, how fast does this car go?
I guess like as fast as the speed limit will let us.
Yeah, sure, but how fast does it actually go?
Well, this car says it can go 140 miles per hour, but when would I ever have to go that fast?
When indeed.
Why?
Why indeed.
The average speed limit is 70 miles per hour, while the average car can reach much higher speeds. Some speedometers even show speeds that these cars can't possibly reach. Today's fastest road legal car, the SSC Autocar, maxes out at 282.9 miles per hour. Okay, these are in closed courses, but doesn't it just make you want to get out there and drive? We all know speeding is dangerous. In the US alone, 25 people lost their lives every day to speed-related accidents in 2019. But most of us are guilty of pushing the limit now and then, whether we're trying to get somewhere faster or just chasing that little hit of dopamine.
I wanted to find out why, throughout the 20th century, and even more so today, car makers have been able to build cars to be faster and faster, and even up to speeds that are definitely illegal on any road.
Both cars and roads have become safer over the years, with most cars now having electronic stability control, blind spot detection, and driver assistance. But there's one obvious safety measure that you rarely ever hear about: the electronic speed limiter, otherwise known as the governor, that electronically limits a car's maximum speed.
Hello, governor.
For most consumer vehicles in Europe, it's not a legal requirement yet, but a lot of car manufacturers add them as an option. Only the Swedish car maker Volvo has officially capped the speed of its cars at 112 miles per hour in a bid to save lives. And that's all great, but it's still a good chunk over even the highest speed limits in the US. I mean, the country's fastest road is a 40-mile stretch in Texas at 85 miles per hour. Now, if you're in Germany, you'd at least have the Autobahn, a stretch of road going thousands of miles without a speed limit. But everywhere else, the electronic limiters are as effective as being told to take it easy on the popcorn when I've already hit the bottom and they're rolling the credits. So why would manufacturers build cars that can go so fast?
First off, there's a mechanical reason why, and it's all about power. I'm a public transport person with a long expired driver's license, so bear with me, gearheads.
It's the transmission, the set of gears that helps get a car going faster. It helps save fuel when you have a transmission that can move a car faster at a lower RPM. So for better fuel economy, the standard highway speed should be in the car's sweet spot. Somewhere between 1500 and 2000 RPM will do it. More than that, a more powerful engine means getting onto the freeway more easily, passing trucks more easily, an emergency situation. But see, this made sense until I found a 2020 survey by AAA Foundation saying 45% of drivers self-reported that they drive 15 miles per hour over the speed limit.
I wish I had a speed reader.
On the interstate, that's quite a bit higher than the average car's sweet spot.
These are generally well-behaved cars, though.
In the United States, the government has long been hesitant to interfere with public's access to fast cars, despite the countless campaigns against speeding. 41 million speeding tickets are issued in the US every year. I kept being reminded of how much influence the auto industry really has, not just on consumers, but on governments too. I mean, the global auto industry market size, the expected revenue, is $2.7 trillion for 2021.
If the automakers, if they're not going to be pushed on it, then they're happy to keep things the way they are. Right now, I don't think there's any incentive on their end to change.
It's not as if the auto industry is totally unregulated. In the US, the NHTSA and EPA have kept a keen eye on car design and safety, mandating seat belts, airbags, and crumple zones, not to mention fuel efficiency standards and emissions laws.
So climate change, huge issue. So if the automakers are like, well, we're working on electric, to a certain extent, it can give them cover. Well, we're focused on this.
The one thing they don't regulate is the most dangerous of all. So here we are, the real reason car makers are able to push the limits on their products. Well, it's been in our faces all this time, ever since 1898 when an ad told us to dispense with a horse. In the early days of auto, it was Henry Ford himself that sold the world on the ethos that freedom of movement drives progress. Since Ford's time, car ads have gone quite the journey.
In a lot of places in the country, the car culture is always going to be very important. That's going to be how people need to get around.
Many car manufacturers cater to a market that values freedom and what that symbolizes above all things.
They're also catering to thrill seekers looking for a hit of dopamine.
Researchers in a 2009 study compared the testosterone levels of a group of men driving a high-speed sports car with another group of men driving a regular sedan. The results showed that the men driving the sports car had higher levels of testosterone. If you need any more convincing, just head on down to Talladega Superspeedway.
NASCAR came from the idea of taking a regular car and race it.
Hang on, baby Jesus, this is gonna get bumpy.
Traffic accidents are 8th in causes of death worldwide, and the leading cause of death for people in the US under 54. Who knows, perhaps in the future, car ads may go the way of tobacco ads.
You just can't beat a lucky strike.
Tobacco companies were the largest TV product advertisers in 1969, then 2 years later, complete broadcast ban, for obvious reasons. What isn't so obvious is the kind of compromise that needs to be made to avoid high traffic fatality rates without hitting the brakes on a vast industry. The industry has pushed back on safety standards in the past, from seatbelts to airbags to electric cars, anything they view as either unnecessary or too costly. But over the years, the public's attitude towards safety has changed, and with it, the auto market.
Adding airbags to a minivan, that's actually going to be a big selling feature. If somebody wants to talk about speed limiters, they're going to come back and say, well, that's tough on us. Our consumers don't want it, and it's going to cost us money to put it in the car.
While the government stays out of people's garages, safety advocates have focused on at least designing roads to deter people from pushing limits. With speeding more likely on wider roads, one idea is to reduce lane widths by 10 feet in cities, narrowing the driver's tunnel of vision so they slow down. There's also high visibility crosswalks, street trees, these little offset curb extensions called chicanes, and that's just the start of it. But is it enough?
Cars can do good things, and I don't want to limit that. Cars also have so many negative externalities that are made worse when car companies say this is a car that can go 300% faster than the fastest speed limit in the United States.
In 2019, the European Union decided all cars sold after May 2022 would have speed limiters. The technology, the Intelligent Speed Assistance, or ISA, isn't mechanically enforced, but it will warn drivers when they creep over the limit, then slow the car down itself. It's already in most new cars, but it'll become a consistent standard across Europe. You can override it just by pushing hard on the accelerator, but it's something. Meanwhile, a UK survey showed that support for the measure outnumbers opposition 2 to 1, with 49% in favour of speed limiters and 24% opposed. But even technology suggesting a slower speed wouldn't be popular with drivers who value the freedom to drive faster. Speed limit be damned. Half of the surveyed people against speed limiters say they would delay their next purchase to keep driving unrestricted, and another 30% say they would buy a used car over a new one. And while a quarter of those in favour of the technology are now more likely to buy a new car, surprisingly, another quarter will seek to avoid it. Sure, it's everyone else that's driving like maniacs. You're a speeding angel behind the wheel. With a measure as sweeping and controversial as this, Europe's auto industry could expect to see a drop in car sales as a result. And in the US, where its auto industry is the largest manufacturing sector, contributing to 3.5% of the country's GDP, limiting isn't exactly at the top of the federal to-do list.
We can have cars that are actually ethical, that are safe, that are good for the climate, that are good for your checkbooks. And car companies also can make money doing that. They're not going to go bankrupt.
Here comes Speed Racer, he's a demon on wheels.
Whoa, slow down there, Maverick. You're pushing the engine to the limit here.
I'm literally going 20 miles an hour, Joseph.
Oh.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos.